You know what they say, never fall for a fallen angel unless they're hot, white, blonde, in high school. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, but I'm just really glad that summer is phasing out. This summer has been incredibly hot. I'm sure you've all experienced. It's just been like I'm just sweaty all the time and like so lethargic from the heat that I don't want to do anything. I've just been reading a whole bunch of books and I've been reading too many books, perhaps. So I thought to myself, you know what? I have a lot of ideas that don't involve wrap-ups. They involve me like actually going out and like curating a book selection. So, you know what? I might as well just do that since my job search has still been unsuccessful. So I've had this idea for a while. Why don't I revisit the books that I loved back in middle school? Because middle school is a particular type of bad taste that one begs for revisiting once in a while. I'm also partially inspired by this podcast that I love listening to called The Worst Bestsellers. And it's these two librarians, former booksellers. And well, as the title suggests, normally they would do they would read like a bestseller or like a popular book, but really there's something kind of off about this. Like, for example, appropriately, their first episode was Twilight. I actually love re-listening to the Twilight episodes every once in a while because they're just so funny and they have really good chemistry. And every summer, instead of doing their usual like let's read a popular book that we think is bad, they do a thing called Flashback Summer where they revisit the books of their childhood and they bring on a guest, and sometimes the guest has something from their childhood. So really a lot of it is along the lines of elementary, maybe early middle, definitely like things, because they're older than me, more 80s and 90s books. So for example, like Babysitter's Club and Boxcar Children and stuff like that. However, I don't know, my elementary school, well, maybe I could do an episode about the things I read in elementary school. Middle school, I think, was really when my love for reading really took off. Even though like I've always had a bad habit of like not finishing books, I still like always picked up a book, always read them, and my teachers always made it abundantly clear that I needed to stop reading during math class. Like I was just reading under the desk all the time. And really that was like an early indicator of ADHD for me. I'm gonna put my pillow on my lap. But it was also the time when I really started getting into storytelling, started getting into like visual elements of storytelling. It was also when I got into anime, and really middle school was just kind of the beginning of the end for me. As I was planning this video, I thought, okay, so what was I reading in middle school? Paranormal romance books. Okay, but for real, most of it was manga because I just discovered my library's manga section, so a lot of it was Inuyasha, One Piece. Not actually, really. I tried to read One Piece in middle school, but now I'm actually trying to read One Piece a little bit because of the live action that's coming out, and I think the main actor is really cute. Naruto, Bleach, the usual. God, what was I watching? Like, Yu-Gi-Oh was a huge thing in middle school for me. Remembering all my fanfic.net escapades. But when I wasn't reading manga, I was reading paranormal romance because that was the era of the Twilight movies. I'm gonna be very straightforward with you. As of recording this, I am 24 years old. I went to middle school from 2009 to approximately 2013. That was the prime time era for paranormal romances. And I didn't really start Goodreads until 2013. So like my records of that era aren't very well documented unless I really search through my memories. The thing is, I only kept the ones that I finished, but when I chose my 3 books, there were actually 2 books that were like, excuse me, these 2 are fallen angel paranormal romances. And then I thought to myself, wait, yeah, there was that other book about the fallen angel that I actually didn't finish, even though I thought I liked it, but I didn't finish things back then. So when I had that idea, I thought, okay, paranormal romances involving angels is rather specific. Like, is there a reason why? Mostly because I wanted to avoid vampires, because vampires would be very easy to do. But you know, in the wake of the Twilight movies, there was a paranormal romance craze, and of course, if everybody was doing vampires, then nobody would buy vampires. I don't think that's maybe the reason why these authors wrote Fallen Angels. Maybe they just like the idea of like the once good, now corrupted bad boy. Like, a lot of these involve bad boys. So, okay, let's just actually talk about the books that I chose. So the 3 books that I chose for Grace's middle school cringe summer is Fallen by Lauren Kate, which was released in 2009. There's also Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick, which was also released in 2009. And then there's Unearthly by Cynthia Hand, which was released in 2011. I actually haven't finished Hush Hush or Unearthly because early onset ADHD, I just didn't finish them. Like, there's no particular reason why I recalled not finishing them. Fallen I actually did finish, and I think that was because, if I recalled correctly, some of my friends at the time was really into it, and I think that's just because we were all like baby goths, like emo kids who were into anime and wearing like Hot Topic fishnet arm sleeves and like black and white horizontal striped sweaters and beanies, a lot of beanies. So really my taste in fashion hasn't really changed, except I'm more now the like adult Hot Topic light alternative kid. As you can see by my Hellfire t-shirt, I haven't really grown out of my cringe phase. Overall, am I looking forward to these books? Well, not really. Maybe one of them will surprise me, but really I'm just not looking forward to reading about a bunch of straight people from the early aughts, but we'll see. I'm kind of going into this with like no expectations because I know that it's all about a bunch of straight people, and you know what? At the end, I still have Good Omens season 2 to look forward to, so there's that. I'm going to cringe at the park with my bagel and coffee like a true New Yorker. And I think I'm gonna start with Fallen by Lauren Kate because that is the one that I finished, and I have the copy from the library. I'm still waiting on Unearthly, and then maybe Hush Hush. We'll see where that goes. I just feel like this is the order I need to go in, so I'm gonna follow my heart. I'll see you guys in whenever I decide to film next. Hey guys, so I thought I'd give a quick update. It's been about 2 full days since I recorded the beginning, and I am about halfway through Fallen. About halfway. Gosh, it's kind of been a ride. In the beginning of the book, I was just kind of a little bit like on the way of nostalgia, because I read this when I was in 6th grade, give or take. Must have been 2010, 2011 when I read this, and this came out in 2009. One of my best friends at the time, she introduced this book series to me. You know, that's very much like the cover. It's like very much like scene queen, emo kid era for me. And like, oh my god, I'm just like picturing like all the emo music that I used to listen to. I still kind of listen to. Definitely Fall Out Boy, 3 Days Grace, Sleeping with Sirens, Bring Me the Horizon, Pierce the Veil. I'm like, oh my god, all this stuff. Yeah, so Fallen is this girl named Lucinda, called Luce. She is a reincarnation of this girl who falls in love with an angel named Daniel every time. In all of her lifetime, she falls in love with the same angel named Daniel, but they're like doomed to not be together. They kiss and she just like explodes, like spontaneously combusts. This is the latest incarnation, and she is sent to this reform school called Sword and Cross. Like the entire school gives off the vibes of that scene from The Craft where the main witch girl goes like, "We are the weirdos here, mister." It's just very much, I guess, a product of its time. It's definitely not very sensitive. There's like some minor transphobic language in here because like a running joke is that no one can tell the gender of some of the teachers. I'm like, okay. It's very much like, oh my god, we're all crazy here, we're all mad here, kind of. Just picturing like all the little chibis and all the little 2012 DeviantArt like images of like the little like peg people with like hearts missing from the, like, if I can find it, I'll put it on screen. Oh my god. She meets Daniel and she's like like drawn towards him because she's like, "I've seen you somewhere before. like, call me crazy. We've met each other, but this isn't the first time we're meeting. And the first time they see each other, he, like, flips her off. She, like, looks at him from across, like, the field or whatever. And I forgot why they were outside. But, like, she looks at him, and they kind of have a moment, like, oh, he's smiling at me. Flips her off. I did not remember that happening. Okay, there was a movie, and I saw about maybe a third or half of it before I stopped watching because it was so boring. In the movie, their first meeting was he's asleep in the library, and he looks like a Michelangelo statue. He looks so beautiful, like lying in the library chair, and then she, like, watches him sleep. But anyway, I'm like, oh yeah, this happened in the book, didn't it? But no, it didn't. So far, I'm about halfway, and she hasn't caught him sleeping. Okay, so the first 100 pages were actually pretty entertaining, like, despite, like, some minor parts of it that hadn't aged well. But overall, it's readable. Like, you can just ignore, like, the weird running joke about no one can tell the gender of the teachers. I'm like, okay. And all the weird, like, crazy girl talk. But, the thing is that what's getting boring now is that, okay, of course, there's a second guy, and his name is Cam. And literally, there was, like, this one part in, like, chapter 2 or 3. She describes, or, like, brings up his green eyes at least 5 times in 3 pages. Like, oh my god, like, the emerald green of his eyes. Oh my god, it's just like the green of his eyes. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Excuse me, I'm gonna bring my buddy up here. I'm gonna bring him up here for emotional support. I'm gonna get comfy. His eyes are brought up so many times. But he's kind of charming. I guess it's because, like, the whole shtick of you gotta stay away from me because I'm dangerous for you is, like, getting old. Is old hat at this point. At least Cam is, like, kind of charming and is interested in Lucinda, or Luce. I keep calling her Lucinda because Luce sounds like a weird name. Of course, obviously, she's, like, Luce is gonna choose Daniel because of, like, their fated connection. Fated connection. I forgot what Cam does. I don't remember if he had an ulterior motive. I don't care if he does or doesn't. He's charming, but it's like, okay, I get your shtick now. I'm done with it. Cause now the next, like, I'm on page, like, 230. The first 100 pages are fine. The next 130 pages, I'm like, okay, now this is getting old and I kind of don't care about anybody anymore. Because Luce was kind of cool for the first 100 pages. Now she's just boy crazy. And she hates all the girls. She hates all the girls because she thinks this other girl named Gabby is into Daniel. She thinks this other girl Molly is into Daniel, and she hates them already because they're so beautiful and, like, she can't compare, I guess. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't care. You should just kiss the girls. Or maybe just let the girls kiss each other because they're obviously not interested in Daniel. Because I remember, minor spoilers for Fallen, I know that at least Gabby is a fallen angel as well, so she knows the whole doomed love affair between Luce and Daniel. So I think she's like, I'm just trying to protect my homie, you know? But anyway, I do like this one character named Penny, or Pen. She's cool. She's, like, the only one I relate to because I know she's mortal. But she's just kind of like the funky, spunky, I can get you anywhere sidekick. I know why she's there. She's useful. That's why she exists. and I feel bad. Because I do remember, okay, spoiler alert again, because this is going to be full of spoilers. I know that Pen dies at the end. So I'm mourning her in advance. Because no one gives love to, like, the nerdy, bespectacled girls. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading. I'm kind of just getting tired of it already. The thing is, it's not bad. It's not bad writing. I think just at this point that this trend just doesn't interest me. The whole, like, straight het fallen angel romance. You gotta stay away from me from your own good Bella Luce thing. He wears a scarf in, like, hot Savannah summer or wherever they are. And I'm just like, okay, sad poet. Like, eat depression for breakfast. Okay. Just overall, it's nice. It's entertaining. And I just kind of want to be finished already. I think it just doesn't help that I already know what happens. I'll save the rest of my thoughts for the end. Say goodnight to my little death moth friend. Alright, see you on the flip side. Alright, so I've finally finished Fallen by Lauren Kate, and it was a solid 3. Overall, I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of glad I grew out of this. In my defense, I was never really into it. I mentioned before, I was into this book because my friends were into this book. They really liked it because I think we were all like baby goth kids. And just the idea of like loving someone for like 6,000 years is like a cool concept at the time. Well, that Good Omens has done it. I'm not gonna do like a whole new thing. I'm just gonna kind of add on to my last update, which was like the halfway point. The second half, I was just kind of waiting for it to end. I think two things that don't help with this reading is that one, I know what happens, and that two, I've read it already, so I kind of just know what happens. I think maybe even like a real young adult reader would get it, that Luce is the reincarnated lover of Daniel, who is like fated to die every time they kiss. I swear, goodbye. Sorry, that's like an involuntary reaction. I'm trying not to do cascade. Okay. And I think what's most annoying with the second half of the book is that they don't reveal this to Luce like until the end, and it's just like she's just kind of running around with like a headless chicken because she doesn't know what's going on. It's like, why are these guys chasing me? Why are these guys being cold to me? I don't get it. Why does it feel like I've known this person before? And she gets these dreams of like different lifetimes. She doesn't know it at the time. So it just feels like really annoying for, I think, to read Luce because we know what's going on. And then we also kind of feel bad for her because everyone else knows what's going on but her, and they make fun of her for being so stupid. It's like, oh my god, you don't know anything. It's like, yeah, she doesn't know anything. She's like smart, but she's not gonna think that like, oh, I'm the reincarnated lover of a fallen angel over the course of 6,000 years or whatever. Like a logical person wouldn't. She's like, I want to be a psychiatrist and I can't figure you out. That would be so funny. All right, so but like overall, just speaking purely from a writing standpoint, it's pretty good. Like it's not unreadable, and the pacing I thought was very nice, and there were good details, good metaphors, and you know, characterization could use some work because honestly Daniel still annoys the hell out of me. Because you know, he's one of those condescending types who's like, oh yeah, Luce, you better stay away from him. You don't know what's gonna happen. It's like, yeah, she doesn't know what's gonna happen because you're all idiots. Another thing that really also annoys me about books like these, paranormal romances, is that the two leads don't spend a lot of time together. For example, like, okay, so Twilight, if I recall correctly, they spend a moderate amount of time together. New Moon, famously, they don't spend any time together. Edward and Bella, I mean. Eclipse and Breaking Dawn, they spend too much time together. But like with books like these, like the Stay Away From You, You'll Get Hurt books, is that like, yeah, because of that, they don't spend a lot of time together. And that really annoys me because I don't really understand their relationship. This one kind of has their we're fated lovers, like, crutch. That sounds terrible. Their crutch to fall back on. It's like, okay, we like, maybe we don't need to develop it as much because they're gonna be together because they're fated. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. If like you want like a 2010s throwback to this era of like paranormal romances, Stay Away From Me, Bella, or You're Gonna Get Hurt, then like I'd say go for it. I had a really good time for the first half because I was having such like fond nostalgia train, you know, like remembering my middle school years. And so like if you're just want a nostalgia trip, like this was an easy read, and you know, just like get your really cool goth girl on the cover, then like, hey, Fallen may be for you. Maybe if I manage to find it. The thing is, the Fallen movie, which I didn't know was a thing until a while back. The Fallen movie I tried to watch back when it was, I think it was on Hulu. Now it's not on Hulu anymore. I tried to watch it, and the filmmaking side of me just kind of died a little bit while watching it because it was so boring. And you know, I like, you can make it, I think, a little funny because there are some funny moments in here, but they just kind of take Luce into it, like from the first half or maybe even the first quarter that I saw, like they take Luce into a different direction. She's more annoying somehow. They just really lean heavily on the angel lore. I might try to watch it again, just try to watch it fully just so I can judge it. I don't know. Right now, I'm just trying to do Fallen Angel middle school summer books. My middle school summer reading list. Anyway, I'm just gonna give this 3.25 out of 5 stars. This is good. It's just, you know, like some parts of it haven't aged well, and the characterization kind of falls to the wayside a little bit at the second half because, you know, they're fated lovers and now all they think about is each other. I'm like, okay, go off, kid. So next on up in this list is a book that I actually hadn't finished when I was in middle school, and that is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. This one is also hopefully, what was it? I forgot what it was, like a movie or a miniseries on like Paramount Plus. I don't think they've even started filming it. I tried to look for details. There, like, it's like there has been recent news of it, just like I don't remember, or if I don't recall if they mentioned like which stage of development it's in, but it's kind of been like in the talks for a while, I recall. Whatever happens, I think I'd look forward to it because it'd be funny. This one I hadn't finished, but from what I know, there's a girl named Nora and there's the guy named Patch. And obviously he's the fallen angel. I don't recall if they're fated lovers, like in Fallen. And I know that he's a bad boy, like really bad. Not like really bad as in terrible, as in like, whereas Daniel was just kind of broody and angsty and just kind of like sat there. Patch, I recall, actually like tries to be like the bad boy who like takes Nora, like actually tries to like get her to do bad things, like the bad influence guy. But yeah, the thing is, I don't really remember. Tried to read this ages ago. I think I was in sixth? Yes, I was in 6th grade because I remember my 6th grade classroom while I was trying to read this. And then I think I just kind of, yeah, like 6th grade may be a little bit too young. I just couldn't get into it because I couldn't understand at the time because I was a precocious reader. Like I read freaking Harry Potter when I was in like 1st grade, and it took me like all year to read a book. And then I read Twilight also when I was too young, but also like the movie came out when I was in like 4th grade. So everybody was into the books. I just kind of read them because everybody else was reading it and I had no idea what was going on, but I read it. I just stared and absorbed and emptied it out. Pooped it out. I don't remember. I mean, I listened to some of the, I'm gonna go on a tangent. I like the Twilight movies a lot. I tried to listen to the Twilight audiobook and I thought it was fine. I didn't finish it because I just kind of wanted to check it out just to see how it was. Honestly, Twilight's fine. I like looking back on it fondly, and we can rag on it all we want because we're allowed to. But right now we're focusing on Fallen Angels. Aziraphale and Crowley hold like a very near and dear place in my heart, and we're gonna judge all the straight ones. So I'll keep you updated and see how this goes. I just wanted to give you all a very quick update that I have never felt the urge to kill another book character more than I want to kill Patch Cipriano. Okay, I just wanted to give a quick update, and I didn't really feel like doing my whole setup, so I'm just holding my camera. I'm about 100 pages into Hush Hush, and I think I know why I stopped reading this back in 6th grade. Right off the bat, literally chapter 1, I wanted to throw this man into the pits of hell. Not counting the prologue. The prologue doesn't count. Chapter 1, when he first meets Nora, he is insufferable. He knows everything about her already, and he's making her so uncomfortable because he's like, yeah, you are so smart and you're part of the newspaper, right? Like, I bet you think you know everything about everybody. And she's like, I bet you don't like to lose control. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? He's so insulting. Okay, and like so their excuse to be together is that he is a new transfer student and they are now biology partners. Except their biology class is such a freaking joke because it's like sex ed class, except it's not even sex ed class. It's terrible. I'm like ranting about this. So in their like literally their 3rd chapter, they're in biology class again. And first off, their first biology partner assignment makes like no sense. It's just like a get to know you assignment, like, hey, list a bunch of things you've learned about your biology partner. And Nora, for some reason, really wants to get an A in this class, and she's like, okay, Patch, you have to tell me about yourself. He's like, no, come over to this bar on a weekday night to ask about me. And she still gets nothing, even though she actually goes to the bar to try and find him. And then for their 2nd class, they are talking about this. It's not even a real biology teacher. It's like their coach or something. And the coach is like, what do people look for in potential mates? And honestly, I have like a visceral reaction against the word mates. It's probably because of Sarah J. Maas and Omegaverse fanfiction. It's like ruined the word mate for me. It's ruined the entire Greek alphabet for me. And then what they talk about is very men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's like, oh, like men are looking for like young, healthy women to carry their children, and women are looking for strong men that bring home dinner. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I hate this. And then it's just, right now I'm on like page 100 something. There's another guy named Elliot now, and he's nicer, but of course Nora's not gonna choose him. I don't give a shit about Nora. I don't give a shit about her friend V, who's so not helping her, because all she wants is to stir up drama and like make like, ooh, isn't he so sexy, like jokes about Patch. And also they're apparently in 10th grade, which means that they're fucking 15 years old, give or take. Even if they're 16, I can barely accept this. Like once I found out that they're 15, all hope has been lost for me. So right now I'm about 100 pages in. They're still so insufferable because Patch continues to give us nothing, and Nora continues to also give us nothing, because like it seems that whatever character she's supposed to have is out the window because Patch knows everything about her already. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know her. I don't know what this deal is about. She doesn't like to lose control. She wants to be a good student. Okay, but like why? Is it because she's a latchkey kid, basically, because her mom is working all the time? Is it because she has trauma from like her dad's murder that's like mentioned once? I don't get it. I just don't get it, and I'm kind of losing my mind. It's just like all of the, oh my god, I'm getting jarred. It's just all of the worst 2000s tropes all compressed into this book so far. There's been like the two guys who want to fight over the girl. There's been girl on girl hate, like, oh, there's like the popular cheerleader who has the toxic smile, and Nora doesn't like her because like this girl wants to get the hot guy already. Oh my god. And there's all this gendered talk is making me like, maybe I should just, no. I'm gonna, okay, no. I really, if this weren't for a video, I would want to DNF this. But I am curious about how they'll make it. There are 3 more books in this series. I don't know how it's all filled up. And like I mentioned in my previous like update, is that they're making this into a movie or something for Paramount Plus, and I can only hope that they update this language, because this was also written in 2009. There's been so much that's happened in the past 14 years that this language cannot stand. If they're going for like a Vampire Diaries originals Teen Wolf vibe, maybe, but like there's not even anything funny in here. Okay, I've only ever watched Teen Wolf, and at least there's like a couple characters, namely Styles, who make it funny and that make it watchable. I just don't know how they're gonna do it with this unless they completely kind of rework the material. If you work for Paramount Plus, you can call me. Call me. I'm in desperate need of a job. But call me after the strike, actually. I'm going to take a break from this book because I had brunch, because it's Sunday and I'm bougie and I took my dad to church, so I treat myself to brunch after. I'm gonna take a break, play some Genshin because the new Fontaine update is out. And I didn't think I would love the underwater function, but I actually really do. And I think you know, right now it's just been a 2000s revamp for me, because one of my favorite Wii games, this is so off tangent, one of my favorite Wii games was Endless Ocean Blue World. So I think I'm just like living my blue ocean dream, but also the ocean is gay. Anyway, I'll see you whenever, I think hopefully my next update will be that I'll finish it. We'll see where this roller coaster book takes me. Oh my god. Hello. I finally finished Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick yesterday, and I am so glad to be free of this nightmare. Okay, I'm just gonna put this down. I can't wait to return that to the library. Obviously, if it's not apparent, I was not a big fan of this book. Where was I? I think I was in, God, was I in the 100? I think my last update, I was in like page 100 something. There's 400 pages of this book, and I I just really started to lose it by like the 300 mark, and I was just speed running it by the end. So yesterday I had a long train ride, so I managed to get a big chunk done. But the problem is I just kept putting it down. I could not handle it because Patch was so insufferable, and we didn't even get into the fallen angel lore by like page 300. So I was just like, okay, what am I reading here? Because by page 300, okay, now we're getting in deep into the paranormal, but it feels like a different movie. I'm standing in my, sorry for probably wondering why I'm standing in my kitchen. It's because I'm thinking I should probably eat now because I'm gonna go to the library right after I film this. So I'm gonna quickly cook some shin ramyun because I want to use up my spam. I'll just try and talk like this. So I think I mentioned that there was another character named Elliot, and of course he was kind of thrown in as a red herring to kind of see if he could be a contender for Nora's love interest. Obviously not. He turns into a huge asshole, like a real, like, entitled dickhead. And that makes Patch look better, except it makes him marginally better only because Elliot is such a cartoonishly, like, evil, like, asshole. So, and then it turns out Elliot was, spoiler alert for Hush Hush, which also came out in 2009, by the way. Elliot was, like, possessed by this guy named Jules, who was there since Elliot was also introduced in the beginning, but was kind of always off to the side. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna come back later. And he was. Turns out he was a Nephilim, which is, for those of you who don't know, is a Nephilim. They are actually, like, in the Bible, they're the offspring of angels and humans. And so why Nora is so special, of course, because she has to be super duper special, is that she is a descendant of Jules, whose real name is Chauncey for some reason, because he's French, I guess. And she has like this special connection to Patch because Jules / Chauncey is Patch's vassal. And as a female descendant of Chauncey, Patch could, because he wants a human body, could kill her in order to obtain one. That's their lore. Why it has to be a female descendant is kind of icky to me, but like honestly everything in this book has been kind of icky because, okay, for some reason, I still don't understand it, Patch and Nora are in love with each other. I'm like, why? I don't get it. I don't get anything. Patch has been a stalker. He has been actively seeking out opportunities to kill her and changes his mind because he's attracted to her. I'm like, why though? Because on the flip side, also Nora is presented to us as like a smart girl, but really she's not. She comes up with these like wild ideas and wild conclusions and really doesn't think to like put two and two together sometimes. And then also for some reason, even before she knows that Patch is trying to kill her, like he's still stupid and like arrogant and condescending and I'm gonna keep saying that. He is insufferable and constantly comments about her body and make comments about her personality, and it's like, oh, you're so afraid to lose control. I'm like, yeah, bitch, because you're here trying to muck up my day. I don't know what her deal is. She also says she has a connection with her dad, who was murdered prior to the start of this book, and I don't really see it. I don't even remember his name. I don't remember his name. I think he liked football. Okay. What was he? Is he a professor or something? Like, what were their moments together? What is their like shared like what did they share together, you know, as father and daughter? None of that. I don't get any of that. And also just the biggest thing about their relationship, other than Nora being stupid and Patch being insufferable, is that their power dynamic is way off, and it just made me super uncomfortable to read. Like I said earlier, Patch is like a stalker because he knows that he has to kill Nora to obtain a human body. He like investigates her prior to enrolling into her school, and he has some abilities as a fallen angel. He can like implant memories. He has like multiple times in this series revealed to have made Nora hallucinate. Like for example, when she thinks she's falling off a roller coaster, that was Patch trying to kill her, but then he changes his mind because whatever, Nora is hot, I guess, and like saves her at the last minute, and she's made to believe that she was hallucinating the whole thing. And he can like coerce people into like doing little things for him. Like when he first enrolled in the school, he wanted to get closer to her, so he like mesmerized the teacher into making them buy out like randomizing the biology partners to make them sit next to each other. Gosh, what else? He has more powers. He can talk directly into her mind. I don't think he has super strength, but like he is like, as a male taller than Nora, can overpower her and does. Because of course there's like this one part where he fakes their car breaking down when she has like no choice but to call him in order to get like a ride out of a seedy neighborhood, and the car breaks down in a motel, like a stranded motel in the middle of like Maine or wherever, and she's like down to her her underwear because all her clothes are wet, and he's also down to his pants, and like, oh wow, this is so hot. No, it's not. It's so weird. Also, these guys are in 10th grade, and I thought they're in 10th grade. These bitches are fucking 15 years old. No, they say later that they're 16, but I'm not about that, you know? Even when they're 16, like, I still couldn't, like, they're babies in my mind. The thing is that teenagers doing the sexy dangerous thing has been ruined for me, like, ever since Riverdale. I've only ever finished season 1, and then I hear about everything that has gone on in the next seasons and in the current final season that I think is airing now, and I'm just like, okay, I can't do this like sexy teenager thing. You guys are all stupid and dumb and just need to focus on your SATs. Right now, YA has always been like a hit or a miss for me. I remember when I was younger, it was always kind of a hit, like, woohoo, like, okay, these guys are 16. Wow, that's so cool. I think that's only really cool when you're like 13 and you think, because for a long time I thought 16 was like the magical number where like things start happening in your life and cool things started happening in your life. Sweet 16, you know what I mean? Like all the paranormal YA girlies had their times at 16. Nah man, 16 was a terrible year for me, so don't look forward to it. I'm sorry you can't see me chopping this because I'm just slicing up some Spam because I wanna, it's just nice to add some things instead of just having it like straight up, like just the ramen and the broth. So I'm just gonna wait for my pot to boil, and I'm gonna keep talking about Hush Hush. I think maybe the thing is that like I see a lot of shades of Twilight in here, but the problem is that like I think it just took like not the best parts of Edward's personality, not that he had a lot of good parts, but I don't know, just like kind of twisted I think what Edward was meant to be. Granted, my perception is definitely colored like way more so by the movies than the books, because I've only read the books once, the Twilight books, and I've watched the movies many times because they're funny. The first movie definitely makes Twilight work by not taking it too seriously and kind of getting in on the joke and not laughing at Twilight but laughing with Twilight, and I think that what makes it work. Like, I love the spider monkey line because it just kind of breathes like an air of flexibility and like less rigidity than Hush Hush feels like, because Patch is like Edward but worse. Because at least Edward, in my mind of what Edward is to me, I think he protects Bella in a weird way because he is like 112 years old or something, so he's a little off, and that's fine because he kind of acts his age and he never really wants to be around her, but you can argue for the compulsion of bloodlust. I can't argue for whatever Patch's compulsion is because he never really tells us. He says, I want you and I want your body and I want to do things to your body. And I'm like, shut the fuck up and go to jail. He kind of tries to make you feel bad for him. It's like, oh, I'm a fallen angel. I'm not really human. Like, you can see me and touch me, but I can't feel things because like the sensation, I think, of touch is like dulled with me because as a fallen angel, I can't really connect with Earth. That's why I want to be human, so I can like feel things. And it's like, okay, boo-hoo, like that doesn't give you an excuse to stalk and like kind of, he basically assaults her once. Okay, so this is gonna be some talk of like assault here. There's one scene, as I mentioned before, with the motel when they're kind of undressed and like Nora thinks, oh, maybe something's gonna happen in like a sexy way, and I'm like, I hope to God nothing happens in a sexy way or else I will literally gouge my eyeballs out. And so she ends up touching his wing scars because as a fallen, you know, he has V-shaped scars on his back that shows that that's where his wings were. So she touches them, and somehow, I guess it's because her magic angel connection, blah blah, she basically gets the whole plot like explained and dumped on her through like magic angel flashbacks, and she's like, oh my god, you're here to kill me, and like I need to get out of here. But he forces her down onto the bed and like holds her there, and he's like, let me explain. And I'm like, get the fuck off of her, you asshole, like get off of her. Like she's like, you are not selling like your side of the story here by pinning her down. She tries to get away like again, and he like forces her against a wall. This sounds terrible when I'm saying it. He like forces her down physically when she finds out that he's out to kill her. I'm like, yeah, no joke, she's trying to get away from you, asshole. But somehow he manages to convince her to listen. She gets another magic flashback. And then really the whole moment is kind of saved by like her friend needing help, because Elliot and Jules like have her basically hostage in the school because Jules wants to kill Nora because blah blah blah. He made a deal with Patch when he was 16 because he's a Nephilim. Patch can possess his body in order to feel sensations for 2 weeks in August because it's a Jewish holiday less month called Sheshvam, even though I'm like, okay, arbitrary time limit, who cares? Continuously mentioned Nora needs to die, right, in order for Patch to get a human body. How it ends is so stupid, but I guess it's the only way for it to end, because this is kind of a flavorless angel copy-paste of Twilight. And so what Nora does is that she sacrifices herself in order to kind of like not give Jules his revenge and give Patch a human body because she loves him, ooh, you know? So she falls from like a high point, but Patch doesn't accept her sacrifice. And so because of that, she is not dead. She kind of gets spit back out to life again, I guess. It's like, well, if you're not going to be a sacrifice, I guess you can just go back to life, I guess. And so because of that, he gets his wings back because he also got a deal from heaven. If you manage to save one human life, you can get your wings back and become a guardian angel. And I'm like, she jumped for you. How did you save her? You don't deserve anything. You've stalked her, harassed her, made sexual innuendos and comments and harassing comments on her body. Bro, if this were a just world, you'd be getting a report from HR and blacklisted from everywhere. Alas, it is not a just world. The power dynamic is all off because of all of his powers. And Nora, they keep saying, Nora, you have special defenses. Yes, I put a little ketchup in Shin Ramyun, okay? Look, I found it on Korean YouTube, so don't at me, please. It gives a little depth of flavor. At least Bella had the leverage of an unreadable mind. Nora is just an open door policy, and I can't get it. I can't get with her. She just doesn't know how to close that goddamn door. Love is not an open door in this relationship. It's not. I really do not know how they're going to make this work as, I don't know if it was a movie or a series they were planning to do. Maybe a movie. They're probably gonna make Nora like a girl boss type of deal. And honestly, I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that. Like, you know, a Camila Cabello Cinderella girl boss type of deal. Because that's what I think Nora was lacking, is that she was, oh no, that was my chopstick. She was being led around by the nose by the plot. She had the illusion of agency. This poor girl was so stupid. So stupid. Even though they kept talking about how smart she is, she does all her homework. And I'm just like, girl, you stupid. You are so stupid. Do not get on the motorcycle with him. Do not talk to him. Do not engage. Do not engage with anybody. Get away from everybody here as fast as possible. Like, sure, she can put on her Nancy Drew glasses and kind of tip her detective cap and be like, something's not right here. You know, I don't want to be biology partners with you anymore. So I gotta find something about you. I don't know. Because at the very least, if she were righteous, I would understand. If she were like more of a goody two-shoes, I'd understand. If she really carried with her the fire of a vendetta against this man because of his behavior, I would get it. But I'm not getting anything. Yes, girl. Give me nothing. Unless the trailer really knocks my freaking socks off, I doubt I'm gonna watch the adaptation if it comes out. I keep thinking maybe I'll hate watch it, but I've been personally against hate watching because I have only so much limited time on God's green earth, and I'm not about to waste my time twice with this book. Honestly, yeah, I didn't want this to be a rant review. I think maybe in my memories I'm mixing this up with another book because the scenes that I thought would happen in this book weren't actually in it, so maybe I've been mixing it up and that's why. I didn't want this to be a rant review because I was hoping it would be decent, like, okay, Fallen was decent, 3 stars, but Hush Hush, it's like, I gave it 2 stars on Goodreads initially, but I think I might just bring it down to 1 because, like, the more that I really think about it, the more that I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I really didn't like this. I feel bad, I guess, but that's just the way that goes. This was written in, like, the late 2000s. Probably really written in the mid 2000s. Like, I don't even know, maybe it was, I don't know when this was really written. It was released in 2009. Things are weird in the 2000s, and we've learned a lot in the last, like, freaking over 10 years since this book came out. Hopefully they'll learn something while they're adapting it. I'm going to continue making my ramen. After that, I'm gonna go to the library because my copy of Unearthly by Cynthia Hand will be out, and this is going to be a different one because now the main character, the girl, is going to be the angel in this situation. I did try to read this probably, I think, when I was in elementary. No, it came out, I think they said in 2011, so I must have been in middle school when this was out. I think I was just really enthralled by the cover, of course, as I usually am. But I also don't remember finishing this because I distinctly remember not liking one of the love interest's names. If memory serves, one of the love interest names is Tucker. That's his first name. That's such a nitpicky thing, but in my defense, I was probably like 12 or 13 when I tried to read this. Because the problem is that it's one letter away from Trucker, and it's also the same name as the last name of the movie John Tucker Must Die. A 13-year-old's got better things to do, like Inuyasha manga. Okay. I'm gonna finish this and I'll see you in the next one, wherever that may be. I'm getting sweaty now. Hello, I'm back again. This time back in my kitchen because I'm back to making more ramen. It's the next day. I'm making a new type of ramen. I'm not making shin ramen anymore. I'm making shio ramen, which is salt ramen, but I'm adding curry to it. I'm trying to cook again. I used to be I'm on and off with cooking. I either go out a whole lot or I cook a whole lot. And I'm trying to get back into cooking a whole lot because I'm running out of money because being unemployed doesn't pay the bills. I've reached the 100-page mark for Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. One second, I'm gonna get my copy. I've reached approximately 100 pages of this. Which is about 5 chapters now. And it's fine. The premise of this book is that, you know, instead of the guy being the fallen angel falling in love with the main character who's a girl, now it's a girl who's not quite an angel, but she's an angel blood, which is, they don't say Nephilim, but she's basically a quarter Nephilim. Her mom is half angel, and the main character Clara and her brother Jeffrey are both quarter angels. And the inciting incident for this story is that all angel bloods have a purpose given to them by heaven. And it could be, you know, delivering a message, it could be guarding someone, and what Clara receives are visions of a forest fire and a boy standing in the middle of it, or standing at like basically around the forest fire, and she doesn't know who he is, but like, what is she going to do for him? Like, am I meant to deliver a message? Am I meant to protect him? It's like, and then her mom's like, no, heaven works in mysterious ways, you'll find out. She pieces together the context clues of her visions, and they end up moving from California to Wyoming. And there she manages to track down the high school where the boy is, and the boy's revealed to be a guy named Christian, who's like the popular guy there. And yeah, the problem I'm having so far is that it's kind of dull. I'm pretty sure I've said before that I'm really tired of straight people bullshit, and I'm really tired of late 2000s cis-het romances. I'm really reaching the end of my rope here. I guess it's because I've been spoiled so much by like the fun goofiness that is Neil Gaiman's Good Omens, Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett's Good Omens, and like season 2 that's been out. I've seen the first 2 episodes. That one's like goofy, but not in a smart way, because it's like, yeah, heaven's kind of freaking weird, isn't it? Yeah, but like, you know, we are the proper angels, you know. It's like, yeah, sure, but you're so out of touch, and that's what makes those angels so endearing. Whereas like, I think not just with Unearthly but also with Hush Hush and Fallen is that they take it very seriously, and wow, this is just not a lot of fun at all. Like, don't you ever whack your wing against something and then gosh darn it hurts? And also maybe the fact that they're all teenagers, 16, 17. And yet at the same time, some of them, the fallen angels, are supposed to be hundreds if not thousands of years old. I don't think they ever really gave us a number. I think it's implied in Fallen that Daniel has been around since the beginning, or at least since the fall, which give or take is about 6,000 years. Thank you, Good Omens, Francis McDormand. But they don't feel like they're 6,000 years old, in part thanks to the visual effects and production design effects of Good Omens. We've seen them throughout the ages. They've seen so much, they've experienced so much, and they show it very well. Also, there are so many shades of... I did not realize how big of an impact Twilight had on the YA paranormal scene after the release of the movie. Because here in Unearthly, there is, even in the first 100 pages, it's already so much of, I can tell, oh my god, you're trying to do a Bella here. Okay, I'm gonna turn this. Please don't look at my closet. I'm trying to give Clara some benefit of the doubt, or just cut some slack, I guess, because she's the paranormal one this time, and yet she's really not that different from the other protagonists I've read. Because there is this trend of YA protagonists. I think it's getting better now, but definitely in the older stuff, and it still happens, where it's like, she's pretty but not too pretty, and I'm good at stuff but not too good at stuff, and I don't have a thing, you know? Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I don't care about you. She's blonde and tall, but her eyes are too big, and my legs are too long, and my arms are all janky, and I'm like, oh boy, woohoo, I guess, good for you. But there is this one point where, because her angel powers are awakening more and more, she has to dye her hair because her hair glows. Because, you know, angelic glory and all that stuff making her hair glow. And like, oh, you can't show that to humans. Ooh, no. So she has to dye her hair, and it's like an ugly carrot orange. That kind of like endeared me, because she's like, I look hideous, and I'm like, Howl's Moving Castle, ain't it? It is, actually. And that endeared me a little bit, because it's like, maybe she didn't realize it, that she was coasting on her looks. And even her mom says, like, you're coasting on your looks. It's just like, no, I'm not. It's okay to have vanity. Or maybe not vanity, just like, it's okay to just be like, I'm not comfortable with this, because I've always, you know, change is hard for teenagers. Trust me, I was one not that long ago, and change is terrible, and change is so hard for teenagers. And it's like, okay, that was endearing for a moment, but then she like finally meets the boy at the high school. She faints. Easy cop out. She like gets right back up in the next paragraph, and she meets like a new friend, and the friend helps her, and even the boy helps her, of course, because he's a nice guy. And she's like, oh my god, I'm such a klutz. And I'm like, oh my god, Bella Swan, you too. I just can't help it. Every time I talk about Twilight, I read a headline that said the Twilight movies are having its 15th anniversary coming up, because I think it came out in November, the first movie did. Yeah, so right now she's just trying to figure out how to get close to Christian, because he's the boy in the vision. She still doesn't know what like she's meant to do yet. We do get the introduction of Tucker as well, and I know from not finishing the book, I know from not finishing the book that she is somehow going to end up with him, even though the whole point of this book is for a girl to aim for a boy. It's interesting that I know that it's kind of gonna subvert the fated lovers trope, I think, and I'm really trying very hard to not think about how I don't like the name Tucker. Okay, so I guess that's just my 2 cents for the moment, because I felt like giving an update. After this, I'm gonna take a long break from I'm probably gonna take a long break from paranormal, but much. The new edition of Wolf Song by TJ Klune just came out. Oh god, did it just come out? No, it was like a month ago because my perception of time is all messed up. So maybe after this I'll do a werewolf one. But maybe I'll do a gay werewolf one because I'm tired of straight people. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. And hopefully the next update will be the last. I'm starting to wonder if future me will be mad for how long some of these updates tend to go on for. Like right now it's already 10 minutes. Ain't that the way? All right, I'm gonna finish up this ramen and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. And now we have finally reached the end of this parable. 2000s were fucking weird, man. As is suggested, I have finally finished Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. And it was okay. So I basically explained out all the plot and premise when I did my 100-page update. Now that I finished it, it turned out okay. Spoiler alert, of course, she does end up with the guy named Tucker. I'm pretty sure I've said that already. And it was pretty underwhelming for an ending, if I may be so bold. Basically, the vision kind of doesn't play out the way that Clara had always thought it would. And who knows what's happening. That's it. That's literally how they ended it. I should give some trigger warnings for this book for SA. And there is a scene in which it's not explicitly said, but there is a villain character that shows up. Oh, around like somewhere in the last 50 pages. He overpowers the main character in a way that's it's not very comfy. So just a heads up for that as well. Generally, I actually liked the last 100, well, for the exception of that scene, I actually liked the last 100 pages because Christian just goes away. For some reason, about half the main cast goes off to do other things because it's summer vacation and they're all high schoolers, so they actually do things with their lives, like go travel and do internships. So it just leaves Clara and Tucker alone and gives them an excuse to just hang out a whole bunch and fall in love. I don't really understand why it had to be the last 100 pages. Up until this point, Tucker just kind of bops in and out, like messes with Clara, like, hey, carrots, because her hair is dyed red. There is a prom scene, and it is quite sweet because, well, Clara goes with Christian because he breaks up with his girlfriend, who turns out to be, you know, that girl. Ugh. And even though they did have this, like, kind of a public breakup, Christian's still a good guy, and he's like, look, his ex-girlfriend's date like bailed on them and left her at prom. I think I should take her home. And then Clara's like, oh my god, this guy. She gets upset, not just because Christian is leaving her to go drive home his ex-girlfriend, but also because she's like, I think I'm kind of done playing by heaven's stupid rules. And I'm like, actually, Clara, good for you, girl. She's like, you know what? I think I'm done. You know what? Whatever happens, I don't really care. Maybe I'm not meant to fall in love with this boy. I'm just gonna save him from this forest fire, and that's it. And then it was Tucker who drives her home, which is quite sweet. And, you know, they share a moment, and I'm like, okay, this is the turning point in their relationship. And then, as I mentioned, half the characters go away for the summer, and then they spend a lot of time together, and then they fall in love. And I'm like, okay, I'd rather you didn't squeeze all this to the last 100 pages. But I guess they had to keep up with the seasons and, like, well, you know, summer break, I guess. It quite moved really fast. I enjoyed it as a friendship. No one really appreciates friendships anymore. I really liked it as a friendship. I could buy it if they were in the like stage and like kissed a whole bunch. But she's like, I am in love with him. And I'm like, bro, girl, you've known him for like, what, a month? I'm losing my mind here a little bit. And then the ending was underwhelming. So what can you do? I'm done with angels, man. I'm so done with them. All right, back to my coffee. So just to wrap up my entire experience with the late 2000s paranormal romance genre, YA category angels, it's been underwhelming, I should say. Maybe it's because I've come a long way as a reader since those 11 to 14 years since those books were written. And also the YA genre has come a long way in those years as well, like a whole decade. If I had to rank them, I would put Hush Hush at number 3 at the bottom. I would put Unearthly in the middle, like a 2. And I didn't think this would happen, But Fallen has to be kind of the best one out of all of them. So Fallen surprisingly turned out to be my number one bitch in this roundup. I think the thing is that what makes Fallen not, you know, the best angel paranormal romance. Obviously that still goes to Good Omens in my book. But the thing is that at some point there were parts of Fallen that were really funny and it made me laugh out loud, and I enjoyed Luce's character for the first 100 pages or so. That's such a small thing that just gives them the extra oomph, you know? Whereas Hush Hush, I just did not like the relationship progression at all. It was weird. It was stalkery. TikTok would love it. I have no idea how they're gonna do this Paramount Plus series, but if they just got rid of all the stalkery stuff and like made him actually cool, maybe they could up the angel lore a bit. Maybe it could be something like the next Teen Wolf, I guess. Unearthly was just kind of meh because I didn't really feel connected to Clara. I didn't really feel connected to the plot. Nothing really happens until about the halfway point, and then the plot actually does start kind of seeming interesting with Tucker and Clara's relationship, and all they really do is just have fun in the wilderness of Wyoming with like fishing and hiking and stuff, and I'm like, gosh, I wish that was me. And that's how it's nicer. Also, Tucker's like nice and is absolutely whipped for Clara, and I'm like, great, we need more men like him in our lives. Patch could never compare. And yeah, Fallen just kind of beats it out a little bit by not taking itself too seriously in the first 100 pages and having some actually funny moments rather than just being kind of blah. And then of course towards the end it does turn out kind of blah, but I don't know, at least the ending was kind of cool. And that's the end of this. It's been a journey. It's probably only been like a week, hasn't it? I don't even remember. Time moves so strangely for me. All right, I'm gonna finish this coffee. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my day with a decidedly not cis heteronormative YA paranormal romance book. But until I get to the next category, I'm thinking werewolves probably. I'll see you in the next one. Kiss your fandom friends goodnight, and bye.